Hi and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webcast. We know there's a lot of things that you could be doing right now, other ways you could spend your time, and you've chosen to spend it with us for the next 45 minutes or so, and we really appreciate that. We're excited to pull back the curtain a little bit and share some of the things that we've been doing at TechSmith and also what's coming down the road. So we're going to cover three kind of main content segments today. The first is a look back at some of the things we've been shipping and doing over the past few months. And not just what, but also why it matters to you. We're going to take a sneak peek at the unreleased version of Snagit. Pretty excited about what's in store for that. And then finally, we're going to hear from TechSmith President Bill Hamilton, who will talk a little bit about the vision and where we're headed next. So to make the best use of your time, we thought it would make sense to edit this together. So we recorded it in advance and edited most of the content together, just so that we could make it nice and brief and use your time well. But that also means that our presenters, some of them will be in the chat, so you can take advantage of that. It's right below the stream, the video stream. You'll find a text chat area. So you can chat with them while they're presenting through the magic of technology. We'll answer as many questions as we can. It is moderated just so that we can keep the flow manageable. But we'll answer those questions in the chat. We might private message you if it's something that's probably particular to you. And then we'll also save some of the top questions and answer those live on camera during our 2 Q and A segments. So that's about all the housekeeping tips I have. Let's get things started off with Troy Stein.
Hi, my name is Troy Stein. I'm an innovation strategist here at TechSmith Corporation. That means that I get to go out and visit customers and learn what they're trying to accomplish and how we might be able to help them out. One of the things that I hear when I'm out there is the role of Snagit inside of their organization. Interestingly, they're often trying to change something about their organization, about the way that they work, and Snagit is playing a role in that. Snagit we came up with 25 years ago, and even today it still enables people to communicate more effectively, more efficiently than they could with words alone. 6 months ago we laid out our focus, sort of where we're heading, and more importantly why. Had three elements to it. The first element was about creation. We believe that anybody ought to be able to share their ideas and their knowledge simply and easily. And frankly, we're a big believer in images and videos. It just works more than a whole lot of text does. It improves the clarity. Second, the things that we share should be the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And so with the tools, if we can get them out to enough people, I can share my idea with you, but then you can build on my idea and we can get better together, that content becomes malleable and improving over time. The third is the recognition that we're on multiple devices and that TechSmith needs to be on all the platforms that our customers are on. Simply put, we need to make you productive wherever you are. In the last 6 months, we tried to deliver on those three themes by delivering some really significant mobile functionality. TechSmith Fuse allows you to take a picture or a video and send it directly to the cloud or to Snagit or Camtasia. Snagit for Chrome, incredibly important to us because it allows people from a browser or a Chrome device to be able to capture an image or video, which once again, if you're a viewer, now you can watch my content, but now you can build on top of it. Integrating with Google Drive also allows that collaboration to happen because you can simply post the video and then within the Google environment, you can comment and collaborate around it. In the cloud, we've developed TechSmith Relay, and we've never had anything quite this simple for allowing anybody to share their knowledge, put it up online, get back comments, questions, quiz results, analytics. It's really opening doors for our customers to do organization-wide knowledge management. Today, we're announcing a brand new version of Snagit. Jason and Sarah are going to walk you through all the functionality. I've been able to show previews of this to our customers. They've been really excited, especially about the video editing. Sorry, spoiler alert. So take a look at it. It's really fantastic, and the new workflows are really stellar. Been here for 12 years, and I have never seen us work with this much focus, this much coordination toward this goal of enabling our customers to create from any device, to be collaborative in nature, and to do this regardless of where they're at. I feel like we're going on this awesome journey. I'm looking forward to going there together with our customers. I'm just grateful to be along and part of this ride.
So if you've been around TechSmith for a while, you've probably picked up on some of these changes. I mean, I've only been here about 6 years, but definitely our velocity is faster than ever. We're on more platforms and really trying a lot of new things. And we're doing this to hopefully make your lives better. So we really appreciate any feedback we get from you. And we'd love to hear from you today during this event. So please do post comments and questions in the text chat. And don't worry, you can ask the hard questions. We're not just looking for softballs to answer on air. So please, tell us what's on your mind, and we'd love to make this a real interactive experience. Next up, we're going to have 4 members of the Snagit team talk a little bit about this next release. The team is much larger than 4 people, but these folks represent some of the people that are helping to set the agenda for where things are going, design and development-wise, and then also people implementing. We'll give you a sneak peek at what's new in Snagit, and also a little bit of more context of like why we're taking the product in this direction and what to expect. Let's take a look.
TechSmith has always been great about listening to our customers and taking that feedback and translating that into what we come out with in the product. Traditionally, we've listened to a lot of our current customers, and with this release, we wanted to have a renewed focus on new users, on how that experience is very different when you're first entering the product and you've never seen it and you don't really know how it works. And we wanted to make sure that when people first download the product and first enter into it, it's as easy and as simple as possible, and that they can really get started really quickly.
And around TechSmith, we have this thing, it's just this little acronym that we use all the time called IUE. And what that is initial user experience. And really, one member of TechSmith put it as the first 5 minutes with TechSmith. Just how are you interacting with the things that we have, and how approachable are they? And that can be anything from our website to individual products.
We also want to make sure that once you're in TechSmith, if you're in Snagit, if you're in Camtasia, you can easily move across all of our products, and it just makes sense that it's from TechSmith and that people can quickly translate that to anything that they're using from us. The great thing about TechSmith is that we don't just have Snagit, we have a lot of different products. So we've been able to learn a lot from all of those different products. From Camtasia, we've learned a lot about video, so we've been able to translate some of that into Snagit. And then also from Jing, we were able to learn a lot about how people like to capture and how it felt more natural, and we could help them do the best and get their point across either through image or through video.
And finally, when we build things, we build them to look really nice. But ultimately, we build them to help you do your work quicker and easier. But we also want to always keep focus on your content and the things that you're making, and not the tool itself. With this release, we had a focus on updating the way Snagit looks and feels, partially to bring that consistency across all the TechSmith things that you're going to interact with. But ultimately, it's only focused on getting your content to be the most prominent thing on the screen.
As soon as you launch the Snagit executable or the installer, you'll notice it's much simpler, it's much cleaner, it's much faster too. There's just one button, you hit install, and you're off. Once you're done with that, it brings you right to the app, and the application mimics what you just saw in the installer. Everything's much flatter, your content should pop out more. That's really what we're trying to focus on, is we're flattening our UI, we're also making it darker so that let's say you take a capture of Internet Explorer, right? And you look at that, it's bright white against our UI. That is what stands out. So you can focus on your content.
So to give you a little bit of insight into what things we're keeping in mind when we're designing things like this, is we have the TechSmith design vision, which is trying to span all of our products across the company. And that is, we're trying to have things be clean, flexible, bold, and focused. An example of that would be another thing that we've changed in the workflow, which would be video trimming and editing. We've taken what we learned from Camtasia, which is the selection playhead, and we brought that into Snagit. So we could have given you just trimming. That was basically the bare bones what we needed to give you, but we also gave users a little bit more flexibility to take out those those ahs, those mistakes they might be making in the middle of a video. For instance, a door slamming in the background or something like that, or us pausing because we're nervous because we're on camera.
There's also other parts of working with Snagit and TechSmith products that can have some anxiety associated with it. So even taking a capture, if you're trying to get your capture just right to get that 1 pixel that needs to be in the capture, even something like that has been true of customers, where they feel like they're kind of almost locked in.
Some of the changes that we've made to the new capture in Snagit is we took some of the things we've learned from Jing in the past. So we tried to delay asking you the question if you want video or image to try to improve the IUE, the initial user experience, a little bit. So they don't have to make that upfront decision, and they know they just want an area to capture, so they're going to select that region, then we'll ask them later what they need to do. The benefit of that is it gives you the opportunity to really tweak the region that you're giving, so it gives you a little bit more sense of control over the area that you're doing. It doesn't feel like, oh, as soon as you let up on the mouse, then it's making that capture, and you felt like maybe it was a little rushed and you felt hurried.
You know, the new capture workflow, it's just another step that you can automate. So when you're setting up a profile, you can choose, you know, I want this to be an image profile, I want this to be a video profile, and then, you know, go on with your normal profile settings.
And you can kind of see, at least from the interaction that you have with the new capture UI, you can kind of see as if you've been following along with 11 to 11.2 to now 12.0, we've kind of made some incremental changes. And along the way there, we've been trying to release a little bit quicker, show you updates. You can kind of see the progression of the design here. This has been kind of something we've been trying to bring along for a long time, but we didn't want to wait till the very end to show it to you. We wanted to get your feedback a little bit more quicker so we can iterate and really have the market decide and have our users decide what actually is a good workflow. So we talked a lot about interactions. We've talked a lot about what's changed with the workflow of this release, but the first thing people are going to notice when they launch the application is they're going to see the new icon.
So if you look at the TechSmith logo, it's 3 triangles that makes up the TechSmith T. So we wanted to bring that to all of our icons to show the consistency that we're trying to bring to each of our apps across TechSmith.
You'll hopefully see something that is more fun to use again, and not feeling like it's out of date or old, and something that's fun and modern and just a nice thing to use.
I hope you're really excited about this release and you're looking forward to giving it a try. It is coming out May 13th, so keep your eye out for that. And then, as always, make sure you give us feedback on any of our channels, and hopefully we build a product that you're really excited about.
Hi, I'm here with Sarah and Jason, and we're going to take some of your questions. You can keep them coming in the text chat. We're communicating with the team that's managing that. But to kick things off first, here's one that I think may be on the minds of some people who are longtime Snagit users. So it's basically, you know, Snagit's an image capture tool, right? Screen capture. What's all this focus on video? Like, how does that make sense? And is the tool changing? Is Snagit changing?
You want me to answer that? All right. So Snagit, I think what's great about Snagit is, yeah, it's traditionally been about images, but the whole point of Snagit is communicating better. And it's about getting that point across really quickly and really easily. And we've done a lot of research that finds actually you can get your point across really well through video, and there's less confusion, and there's less back and forth, and there's less questions. So we wanted to expand on the great things that you can do with images within Snagit, and then also give you video so you can communicate to people just as easily that way.
And when customers come into the TechSmith fold, we find that they're at all different levels of comfortability, I guess you'd say, or level of expertise when it comes to technology, or you know, taking image captures or working with video. And so I think at TechSmith we're trying to also cover the whole spectrum on how your use with video might be. So I think Camtasia really fits the bill for a certain segment of people, but then there's also another portion of customers that just want to get going with video, get comfortable with it, and I think that's where we see Snagit fitting in.
Yeah, Snagit's a great starting place to just try out video and see how you like it.
So you mentioned video, and Fuse, that one of the apps we have, is really great for getting video and images into the desktop products like Snagit. What platforms is Fuse on right now, and are there others coming, mobile platforms?
Yes. So right now Fuse is on Android and iOS, but we're also going to be coming out with the Windows version, and you're going to be able to use that with Snagit and Camtasia as well. Do we have the date on that yet?
I don't think so.
Soon. Keep a lookout for that.
Cool, thanks. Let's see, beyond Fuse, okay, so talking about mobile, beyond Fuse, do you see Snagit having other plays in kind of the mobile space? I know that's a question, you know, we've gotten What's kind of our current thinking on how that might work? Jason, I don't know, do you want to start off?
Sure. Yeah, that's not a softball. It's one that we talk about a lot at TechSmith, and a thing that we've always tried to be conscious of and safe with is, and safe might be a strong word there, but just not solving problems in always the exact same way across platforms. And we firmly believe that certain platforms have certain strengths and weaknesses, and just because we can solve a thing on the desktop in a certain way doesn't mean that we should just default to solving it the same way on, say, a tablet or mobile. So that's something we've been really conscious of, even with Fuse, where we wanted to make sure we were taking advantage and leveraging all the capabilities of a given platform. And so oftentimes we hear, we're Snagit on the iPad, or we're Snagit on iPhone or mobile, or whatever you want to say. And the caution that we're taking there, again, is just putting Snagit in its current form onto an iPad or a tablet or any of those devices. It might sound like it would be perfect, but we don't want to just default to what we think is the most obvious thing, but try to really take advantage of what those platforms can bring. And so that's where I think we started with Fuse, and I think we do see bringing that integration tighter between the desktop and mobile, so that you're more, as Troy had mentioned, more productive where you are, regardless of what device you're on.
I guess maybe a little bit related in talking about video editing and video experience. Shannon Sellers, one of our viewers, asked, with the addition of video editing in Snagit, do you see this as a replacement for Camtasia down the road? Is that kind of where this is heading, is you wouldn't really need Camtasia anymore?
I think it really all depends on what you're trying to do. In Snagit, we're never going to put all of the really in-depth editing features that Camtasia has. But if you're really just trying to get your point across and you need to just edit out a couple of mistakes, maybe that's all you need to do, and Snagit could be that for you. But I don't think we're ever going to really take it to the really high editing capability that Camtasia has. So if that's what you're looking for, and you're looking to add callouts, and you're looking to add all of these different features, Camtasia is the best option for you.
Yeah, we have no plans of having Snagit be the replacement for Camtasia or anything like that.
And one of these little features that I love when I use them together, and probably a lot of people don't even know it's there, is that little button inside of Snagit that you can take that recording that you made sort of off the cuff, on the fly, hit that button and shoot it over to Camtasia. It's on the timeline. You can add it to other pieces of content. I don't know. For me, there's a lot of like back and forth too between the products. Matthew Carter asked a very specific question about the ribbon in Snagit. The ribbon is the area right where all the tools sit at the top. And he says, why can't we edit the ribbon to our needs? This would help me with processes and do things that I'm trying to do more quickly and easily.
Yeah, so the ribbon, it's been a kind of a mixed bag when it comes to how people have used the ribbon. And when we first introduced the ribbon, this was a design paradigm that a number of different products had started using, so we wanted to use something that was common to other applications and something you might be more familiar with. But it also came along with a bit of this kind of overwhelmed feeling sometimes, where if all the options are in one place, it might seem convenient at the time, but at the same time it can be difficult to find just the thing that you need. So ultimately, to allow complete customization, typically that comes along with a lot of complexity as well. And so I think we're always trying to balance giving people the power that they need while also maintaining that really simple, easy to use interface. So the reason we haven't allowed customizability in the ribbon is to keep it as simple as possible and straightforward as possible, so that any user, regardless of their level of expertise, can come into Snagit and do what they need to do really quickly. If you're interested, there are a few ways that you can customize the ribbon with the Quick Access toolbar. That's the little panel at the top of the ribbon, which by default you have things like open and save and copy to clipboard, undo, redo. But you can add pretty much any command that you want inside the Quick Access toolbar. So that's one way that a lot of people, even inside TechSmith, customize the ribbon.
My favorite way of doing that is right-click on any of the tools and then just choose Add to Quick Access Toolbar.
Yep.
You don't even have to dig around in the menus.
especially sharing destinations. If you always share to email or always want to copy to the clipboard, that's something a lot of people do really commonly, is put that in the quick access toolbar.
So here's one that I think gets at also the same question around how complex or how simple is Snagit on that spectrum, right? And it often depends on where you come in. One person's bloated software is another person's simple, easy to use tool.
Yep.
So this person is asking, you know, if Snagit feels too much for me, like too heavy, and I'm still using Jing because of its simplicity, what will you say to me to sell me? It's from Dan Laird. He says, sell me on Snagit as a Jing user. How would you answer that? Sarah, you take this one.
Want me to take that one? Yeah, not a softball at all. So I think how I'd sell you on Snagit is there are a lot of great things you can do within Snagit. If you really want to just take that simple screen capture and do that simple editing, maybe right now Jing is the best thing for you. But keep in tune with the next coming months, especially with this release. We really wanted to focus on making things simple and easier, but we've been doing a lot of research. We've been doing usability studies. We've learned a lot from Jing, and we're going to be applying a lot of that to Snagit to make it even easier for you to enter in and to explore things. We're hoping that with this release, when you try it out, you can always download a free trial. You'll notice that big difference where it's not as scary. It's easier to get into and start clicking around. What was that laughing for? It's easier to start using, jumping in and clicking around. We're also going to be making some more changes, like I said, to make that even easier. But of course, like Jason was talking about with that balance, we're trying to balance making things super easy and also having that power within Snagit. So we want it to be learnable and for you to be able to enter within Snagit and use what we find as the most commonly used tools, but also be able to easily find those other things that you're trying to find as well.
Yeah, I think we can sell you on is that Snagit really can meet any spectrum of need any spectrum of, I guess, work that you're trying to solve, whether it be the really quick capture where you're just drawing one arrow on a capture and sending it to your coworker, up into the you're building an entire training suite for your entire company. And I think Snagit really covers that entire gamut. And back to the ribbon question, we tried to give you exactly what you need to do both of those things at the same time. And because internally, customers we talk to all the time, they are jumping between that really quick and easy capture all the way up to the building a whole training suite. So I think that's where Snagit can really have the power that something like even Jing, our own tool, wouldn't be able to give you.
And one thing too is, before I even knew about Snagit, I was just using regular screen captures and sending them off, and I thought that was the only thing I needed until I started playing around with it. And of course, that's coming from me and I manage the product. But I started using Snagit and realizing the awesome things I can do with it and just how great you can look and how surprised people are that you can create something that looks so awesome within only a couple minutes. And you can really do just about anything within Snagit, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, one other element of this that often gets overlooked is a lot of TechSmith employees and customers look at their usage of Snagit as how they use it and what they do with it. But a kind of a more sophisticated look at it, even something we have to check ourselves on all the time, is you have to think about the recipients of the things you're producing. And that's something we see over and over again, is that just typing up an email with a bunch of words or trying to communicate in a more, I guess, simple sense, which is totally appropriate in a lot of cases. Just being able to have your content understood and consumed and comprehended is something we often forget about, but it's really powerful and really, like Sarah said, can change the way people interact with one another and communicate with one another.
Sharon asked about the differences between the Mac and the Windows version. So I will reiterate the release next week that Sarah talked about in the video, May 13, is both platforms. So it's Snagit 12 and Snagit 3 on Windows and Mac. But beyond that, is there sort of a plan of how these two are coming closer together in terms of features, the Windows and Mac version of Snagit?
Yeah, with every release that we've done since Snagit Mac has existed, we've been trying to converge. We started out with, we just need to do the basics. We need to cover what we think are the core use cases, the core problems that a knowledge worker, someone that's using our tools, needs to have solved. With every subsequent release, though, we've been converging more and more. And I think this one is getting even closer to, if you look at the video editing capabilities, the way we expose how you capture the screen, even the look and feel of it down to the pixel level is converging more and more. So we definitely see it continuing in that path. And as we evaluate new things that we add to Snagit or updates that we make, it is never a, well, on Windows we need this, or Mac we need this. It's a Snagit discussion, and furthermore a TechSmith discussion.
And just Snagit on Windows has been around for quite a bit longer than Snagit on Mac has been. So the team is working really hard at making all of those great features that are on Windows available on Mac, but we also want to make sure that those features that we're taking over to the Mac side make sense and that they're really being used on the Windows side. So we don't want to just transport them and put them on Mac if they're not really being used, if they're not the best they can be. So we're working on both sides to make sure that everything within the product is great and usable.
So we're almost out of time. One other, I guess, just a couple other short questions here. One, Tony mentions that he really likes the outputs for Snagit. And are there more outputs coming that he'll be able to add, or upgrades to the existing outputs? Where does that fall on the priority list?
Yeah, there are more coming. It's always a tough balance. We get requests very, very often about new outputs from Snagit. And I guess we're trying to look at integrations to be a little more sophisticated and not just purely about output. Outputs are very powerful, but I think as we've been evaluating them more and more, it's more about how can they change your whole experience within Snagit, not necessarily just sharing to something that you use often. But yeah, we still have some planned, and they come and go, I guess, in terms of priority. One will come up that seems a lot more interesting, or I guess more pervasive is probably the best way to put it, and how many people we think it can really change the way they work.
But we're currently in talks right now with a couple different outputs, so keep looking in your inbox for in the next couple months, couple weeks, because we will be hopefully putting things out for you guys as well.
Yep. So one thing I wanted to also reiterate before we wrap up with this segment, I was talking to our customer support manager today, and she said, make sure people know that if they've bought the product, Snagit, since April 1st, their key will already work in Snagit 12. So that's a common question. People call up on release day and say, hey, do I have to pay again to upgrade? The answer is no. Your key will work to unlock the latest version, Snagit 12 or Snagit 3 next week. So thank you guys. Thanks, Sarah and Jason, both, for coming and answering questions. And we're super reachable, all the time on social media channels. The feedback community, feedback.techsmith.com. Jason's in there and Sarah as well. And they'll probably be in here in the chat and can answer some of the questions we didn't get to on air. And there will be another round of Q and A coming up later in the segment. First, though, we're going to hear from TechSmith president, Bill Hamilton. So Bill co-founded TechSmith as a consulting company back in 1987. And then he really led us through a transition to a software company in 1994. And Bill's still very involved at a strategic level with the direction of TechSmith and the direction of the products. So we're going to hear from him a little bit about the vision of where we're headed and some of the particular initiatives that we're working on next. So let's take a look.
Well, when we look at the whole experience of creating and using video, the big problem is getting a better return on investment. Right now, people are spending way too much time in the creation process, and they are having not as much reach and feedback as they need to have out of that. So you can attack it from either end, and we're going to attack it actually from both. We want to look at things that make creation of high quality video more accessible for normal human beings, because the key to this is not to have a whole chain of experts in between the subject matter expert and the creation of the video. Reduce that as much as possible in terms of steps and in terms of time. So a lot of what we'll be doing is to allow people to create high quality video without having to have advanced video skills and without having to spend an enormous amount of time. On the other end, what you want to be able to do is make it easier for people to get their communication out to the world and get feedback on that communication. That's a lot of what's missing now. We need to move from this sort of broadcast-only model where you have one person that's creating all of this video and lots of people that are consuming it, and that's the end of the value cycle, to some situation where creation leads to people viewing it, leads to feedback to the creator, leads to better communication all along the chain. But one of the interesting things we're doing is working with a diverse group of people out there to say, how can we come up with a better way of creating fairly long and complicated videos, but not having to worry about making a little audio mistake like I'll probably make during this, and not to have to worry about how to combine different types of content. For instance, a lot of people want both get their visual image in the video, but they also want to do stuff that's based on screen content. That should be dumb simple for people to do. They shouldn't have to learn a lot of rules. And we have a concept called sort of malleable content. And the idea is you don't want to create this long monolithic video and then say, oh my heavens, I need to change something in the center of that after we reviewed it. Now you have this big project to do that and splice it together and all of that stuff. What we want you to be able to do is just go in there, pluck that component out, put the new component in, or insert a new component that you forgot to put in or you realize you need in terms of explanation, and use simple metaphors so that anybody without video training will be able to do that. That experiment is well underway. We're doing testing with various groups of content creators, and we're looking for content creators to do that testing with that are not video experts. One of the major initiatives here at TechSmith has been TechSmith Relay. And we're doing some things as sort of the follow-on steps with that I think that are really exciting. One of those is to say, yes, you may be creating your own content and you need a place to host that, and we give you all of that. So if you have private content, for instance, that you don't want to share with the world, and well, we'll give you a way to create that content, that video content, and to store it, retrieve it, share it with selected audiences. But now what we're doing is also opening that up and saying, if you want to access, say, content that's available publicly on YouTube, you can do that in an exact same way and with the same capabilities that you can with this private content you created inside the system. Well, same capabilities, what I mean by that is you can say, yes, I want to share it to just this group. I don't want to share it to this other group. And you can say things like, I want to put a quiz in that YouTube video. And I want to know how people consumed that YouTube video. Have they started it? Have they completed it? Where are they at in that process? And do that using all of the capabilities that you've already learned for the content you're creating inside the system. So we're really excited about opening this up so that more and more of the public content out there can be used to complement those things that you're doing specifically for, say, your classroom or your training in your company. So you can have the richness of that public content, but you can make it as specific as you need with your private content, and then combine all of that together to have a very economical way of developing the training, for instance, but have it very specialized to your environment. So those are underway right now, and they're really thrilling for us.
Hi, we're back this time with Bill Hamilton and Troy Stein, and thank you guys for coming on to answer some questions from our viewers. One of the questions, you talked, Bill, in the video about malleable content. We'd like to hear a little bit more about that, and particularly, this idea of being able to take a piece of content and reshape it. Are people really ready for that? Are they ready to adopt a technology like this?
I think it's coming. What we're really trying to do is develop what people are going to be using a year or two from now. And this is the time to be experimenting with it, trying to understand how it would work and how we would make that work. But if you think about it, a lot of what people do even now is cooperate in creating content. The only thing is that we don't have a good way of having that continue over time. So you'll have a whole bunch of people creating a video together, whether it's a couple students, whether it's a production facility. What we want to be able to do is extend that through time. I think some of the great examples are from Alan November, where he talks about the idea that say a 6th grade class really modifies the content they were taught with, and part of their legacy is to leave better video content, better learning content than they had when they started, and that each successive class contributes to that content. So we want to be able to give them the tools to be able to do that.
That's not much different than a corporation either, though, right? I mean, it used to be very top-down, right?
Absolutely.
So the centralized training department, and there's still a great need for those training departments, but it used to be they told you everything you needed to know, and you just sort of snapped to and did your job. And now there's a recognition that expertise is everywhere within the organization, and that just because I share my expertise doesn't mean that you can't build upon it.
Yep. This is just really another sort of idea about the democratization of creation of content.
Right.
That there's no difference here. It's just giving people the tools to be able to realize that. So if you're a subject matter expert and you're looking at a video and saying, oh, there's a better way to explain that. There's a better example we can give for this company or this class or whatever else. They give you a way to say, I don't now have to go edit the whole 2.5-hour video. I can go in there and pull that slot out and put another one in there and have a better video than we had when we started.
I know some people may have been scratching their head like, why in the heck were you guys playing around with Google Docs, you know, the Google Drive integration? Does that make any sense? And fundamentally, we went to that platform because we knew that allowed us to explore some of the ability that people have of generating content. So I put an image, can somebody make a comment about that? Could they iterate upon it? And so that's where we're starting to derive some of the intuition about why people need to be able to improve upon somebody else's idea.
There are a lot of people exploring these ideas, and I think that's, in a sense, part of the validation of what we're doing here, is that people are coming at this from a lot of different angles. We're doing our part about trying to create the tools. There are other people out there looking at how do you do a better job of transferring subject matter expertise to other people out there. And we'll all come together and have to work on this cooperatively to figure out better ways. But look at the progress we've made just, you know, when we first introduced Camtasia Studio, the only way that people could actually create training videos like that was to contract it out to a third-party company. It was a 6-month turnaround. It would cost a minimum of $50,000 to do it, even for a short video. And that everybody accepted that that was the way it was and that was good enough. And actually, we had some customers that sort of initially said, well, why wouldn't we want to be able to do that? Because then I don't have to worry about it. But it turns out that the advantages of the quick turnaround, the cooperation you can get and collaboration about creating that, has really taken it to a whole new level. And I think these new tools will do this in a different way, will do the same thing.
So Troy, you visit a lot of institutions and you see people who want to make video, and as we've just been talking about, the means of production of video is at a lower level than ever before.
Right.
But yet we're saying we want to make it easier. I guess, isn't it easy enough? Like, what else what else needs to change?
So I've been in the forums, and you can see the huge diversity of opinions. Like, so when am I going to get HTML5 output? Just like jQuery, you know, they have some really unique feature that they want, and it's clear that these people have been using our software for a long time, and they know all the ins and outs about it. And then we get almost 1 million people a month downloading Snagit. Thank you. It's awesome, but also you can't underestimate how complicated sometimes software is for everybody. So we need to make sure that it is accessible, so that it's simple. But even as awesome as Snagit is, right? Boom, I hit a video, I hit stop. Now what? So within a corporation, where am I going to send it? You know, how am I going to be able to share it with the people within my organization? And my visits, that's frankly the part where people go, network drive, SharePoint, you know. So we've got a lot of road ahead of us to make sure that not only an individual can make that video, but then that they can get it to the people that they need to, and then, as we sort of teased out before, that it can be part of a conversation, and that it also becomes then sort of a collaborative part of a broader discussion.
So a little bit playing off of that, I guess, at least the interactive component. We have a couple questions here. Brenda Quinney asked, what about interactivity with the video? Is that on the way? And we have another question around quizzing, and are there plans to beef that up and make it more customizable? So Bill, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe where we're going with kind of interactivity in video and how we plan to improve that.
Yeah, I think that's a critical part, is to figure out how do people collaborate through the content, not just around the content, is where we're headed. And we have a lot of work to do in that, because I don't think there are really good models out there to make that work. And I think just, you know, having a set of text comments on a video doesn't really work very well. I think everybody recognizes that. So we see some ways that you can actually use the medium, that is video, if you have low barriers to creating that video, that becomes part of the medium about how you interact and react to the content you're looking at. But first of all, we've got to get some of these other things in place, like very low barriers to entry that Troy was talking about, the ability to change a video without having to become an expert in non-linear editing. So we have a lot of things to do, but we are experimenting internally with different models to try and make it much more interactive.
Great. We have a couple questions about the differences between Camtasia on Windows and Camtasia on the Macintosh platform, both in terms of price, because obviously they're different, and then also just in terms of, like, someone's mentioning transitions in particular.
Yeah, there was a question about when are the transitions going to be the same from one platform to the other. I can take credit and blame for all of that. I was the Camtasia product manager for a number of years. Yes, please. Email is t.stein@techsmith.com. When we came out with Camtasia for Mac, that was probably 5-6 years ago, I think, thereabouts. And at that time, Camtasia Studio had a 7-year head start, thereabouts, maybe a little bit more than that. And we decided that what we were going to do was not going to replicate all the Windows functionality on a Mac machine, because that didn't make sense. And it's the same sort of thinking that makes us take a pause when people say, I want Camtasia on an iPad or Snagit on an iPad. It just has to do this thing. And we're very cautious about just porting technology over. We try to do things that complement the platform that we're on. So on the Mac platform, the UI was different. Some of the workflows were a little different. And over time, we actually found that some of the assumptions we made that, oh, it's different on Windows and it needs to be different on Mac, some of those assumptions were wrong. And for example, some of the things that we were doing on the timeline, they could be consistent. What we're moving towards is a consistent recording output, so that when I make a recording on Mac, I can move it over to Windows. Obviously, you can see where we're going with that, where ultimately we might have a common project file. So if I make a project on Mac, I can bring it over to Windows. Will we have one-to-one parity anytime soon? Probably not, to be honest. Are we moving in that direction? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I'd like to add that one issue here is that we don't want what we deliver to the marketplace to be the lowest common denominator. We want to make sure that we're giving, yes, equivalent experiences on the two platforms, but we're also recognizing the strengths and ability of those platforms and the products we deliver.
So there's a couple questions people asked about screencast.com.
Sure.
Hasn't been updated for a while, right? And folks have kind of, who are longtime users of it, have noticed that. What are kind of the plans, I guess, that we could share at this point for screencast.com? And do we plan to keep it around, and will we continue developing on it, or is that still an open question?
I think you can take the lead from some of the new products that we've been developing. So TechSmith Relay, which is a simple recording. By the way, this is not a marketing push, but hold on for 10 seconds. So we made a real simple recording application that then sends the video off to the cloud. That cloud is based on the Microsoft Azure cloud. It has hosting, it has analytics, it has quizzing. That is on a different platform than screencast.com is written on. We do these things differently on purpose because we need to be able to tease out and to experiment with different ways of doing things. The way we did it on screencast.com was fantastic in 2006. Not so awesome right now. So we're looking at ways of transitioning onto a different platform. We're learning a lot about the Azure platform. We think there's some good promise there.
I wouldn't be shocked to death if we found in the future that there was a screencast.com continuing with the same value in the user experience, but the back end really brought into the modern era.
Another forward-looking question. Someone is asking about, Tim says, I would love it if Fuse was available on my Windows mobile device. We use a Windows system and can't use Fuse right now. Is that something that we think we might address at some point?
Yeah, it's underway.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something we will be delivering.
I'm sorry, I was looking over here because I thought you guys had actually answered that. But
Yeah.
Well, our
That's
intent
part
is
of the roadmap.
Yeah, our intent is to be on all the major platforms.
Yep, that's sort of our commitment, that if it's an important platform out there, if it's been adopted, we're going to be on it. We're going to be offering value. We're going to be offering ways to move stuff back and forth, to work across multiple platforms. And we actually are putting quite a bit of effort into Windows Mobile right now.
Great. Well, thank you both. We are running long here on time. So there are some more questions that have been asked in the Q and A area, and I hope that we can respond to those there to your satisfaction. If not, ping us on any of our social channels, or send us an email or a carrier pigeon, however you want. Thank you both, Bill and Troy, for coming and sitting in the hot seat here.
And thanks for everybody for asking great questions.
Yeah, and we really hope this has been beneficial to you all. I'm already looking forward to the next one. Can't wait. And anyone who's signed up or RSVP'd for this event, you'll get an email that has a link to view the replay. And we are also sending out a survey. I really hope you'll take about 2 minutes, I promise, to do the 5 questions in that survey so that we can make the next webcast better for you. Thanks to all the presenters, you guys, the video team, the chat room folks behind the scenes, and most of all to you, the viewers. Honestly, TechSmith, a lot of companies say this, and we really wouldn't be here without our customers. And we love you guys, and we're appreciative that you would turn out for an event like this. So please stay in touch. Look forward to playing with the new Snagit next week. Hope you really enjoy it, and see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.